Hello there, YouTube. Before we get into it, please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that little bell so you get notified every time we go live. We're recapping the entire weekend. Up next, Reid Detmers might just be an ace. Let's talk about it. Welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on Monday, August 1st. Welcome in. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White today on the show. Waiver wire adds and drops. Julio Rodriguez unfortunately went to the IL, so we'll help you find some replacements there. Some save sources emerging ahead of the trade deadline, and much more. Before we get into all that, Scotty, just got to let you know, you put me back on Better Call Saul. I was like bunkered down all weekend. I am almost caught up, and it is amazing. So
I am not as far along as you. I'm just a few episodes behind you. I'm in the middle of season 6, which is the final season, the current season, and based on how high the next couple episodes are rated on IMDb, I'm in for a treat the next time I get around to watching it, probably after the trade deadline is passed. But yes, I have very much enjoyed my binge of Better Call Saul. Of course, I'm a Breaking Bad fan. How can you not be? But it's just interesting how different tonally Better Call Saul is, especially since like Saul Goodman was the most cartoonish character on Breaking Bad. And so you thought there'd be like, I don't know. I thought maybe they'd lean into that more, but it was just, and I know it's gotten more intense toward the end of it, but it just wasn't nearly it wasn't like a white knuckle thrill ride the way Breaking Bad was from start to finish. It was like, it kind of eased into that and really developed his backstory in a way that makes him seem, less like a cartoon and more like a person. And it's just been, I don't know. It's just been good in a way that's unexpected, and really enjoyed it.
It's been awesome so far, man. Yeah, I'm nearly caught up to where Better Call Saul is at, but Vince Gilligan, man, this guy he has a knack for storytelling and creating like anxiety within the viewer. It's awesome. So for anyone out there, if you haven't watched Breaking Bad, please go do it. And then after that, watch Better Call Saul because it is amazing. All right, let's talk about baseball.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness. Scott, you get the breadstick once again.
Yep. No, I love the breadstick. I am consuming this breadstick known as Reid Detmers, who had best start of his major league career. Looked like the majority of his minor league starts, though, actually. This has been, the kinds of numbers he put up here on Sunday are what he routinely did during the little bit of time he spent in the minors, mostly last year, but then he also had that 16 strikeout effort this year. Anyway, strikeout 12 in 7 innings. And against the Rangers. Granted, it was the Corey Seager-less Rangers, and the Rangers lineup isn't amazing even with Corey Seager, but there are worse lineups too. So he got 12 strikeouts. He got 24 swinging strikes on 105 pitches. 10 of them came on 28 sliders. Remember, that was the pitch he fixed during that very short minor league trip, where he seemed to fix the slider. He picked up 2.5 miles per hour on it since returning. And now in 4 starts since returning, Reid Detmers has 1.13 ERA, 0.92 whip, 11.6 K per 9. Yeah, that K per 9 obviously inflated a bit by this start, but still, all 4 starts have been very good. Very good. And he looks like he's living up to his potential as a prospect. Now, here's the problem, because a lot of people, obviously I commented on this start on Twitter, and a lot of people were like, oh, Detmers are this guy, Detmers are that guy. Detmers has now exceeded last year's inning total by 20 already. 82 this year, 62 last year. That's combining majors and minor leagues. And that makes you wonder how many he has left. Now, the Angels go 6-man already, so that's going to space out his starts more. Maybe they're able to get him through, maybe they'll get him through August. But I doubt we'll see him much in September if they do. And there's a possibility that they just make his starts shorter from this point forward, in which case, it doesn't really matter how well he's pitching. He's just not going to be an impactful player in fantasy. So, I'm definitely excited about Reid Detmers' future prospects in a way I very much wasn't a month ago, but practically speaking, in a redraft scenario, how valuable is he? He should be rostered, but like him versus Aaron Ashby, him versus Brady Singer. I'd probably rank them Ashby, Detmers, Singer, but it's closer than you'd think because of that concern over Detmers' innings.
Yeah, and we spoke about it on Friday too, following Brady Singer's amazing start, where might be format dependent. Maybe in a points league, you go with Singer just because you don't have as many concerns about workload. And obviously, there's going to be a chance for 2 starts in a week for Brady Singer, where that's not really going to be a possibility for Reid Detmers. So, maybe in a category league, you lean with Detmers because the ratios should be good. And obviously, the strikeouts have been amazing during this recent stretch. So, it could be format dependent, but gosh, he looks amazing right now. This hard slider that he's throwing, it's really unlocked something for Reid Detmers. And not sure exactly. I'm pretty sure you did, Scott. Read off the numbers, but just the 4 July starts since he's returned. It's 1.13 ERA, 0.92 WHIP, 31 strikeouts over 24 innings pitched, 50% rostered for Detmers. I think that number needs to be higher, as you intimated. Another waiver wire pitcher, Nick Lodolo. Another great start here on Sunday. Back-to-back quality starts, albeit against the Marlins and the Orioles. He went 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts to 2 walks. He had 17 swinging strikes in this start. He's 57% rostered. And at the Brewers this week, I know that the overall numbers haven't looked great, and he hasn't really put together many great starts yet. But I see a lot of potential there with Lodolo as well. Scott, do you have any concerns when it comes to innings for him as well? I feel like he didn't pitch much last year either. Where is Lodolo in regards to these other pitchers as well, like Detmers and Singer and Ashby?
You know what? I need to make a correction. Pretty big correction, actually. Somebody in the comments pointed it out to me, and I'm confirming it. And I guess in the article I wrote last week, I put it down wrong there and was just trusting in that. Detmers, between the majors and minors, got to 82 2/3 innings last year and is now right at 82. So he has not surpassed last year's innings total by 20. And so I'm a little more optimistic now that he's going to make it. I'm not saying they're not going to control his innings at all down the stretch, but that makes rostering him less risky, I would say. There is still the fact that he's in a 6-man rotation, and so how many 2-star weeks is he going to get? Is he somebody you're going to want to use in many 1-start weeks? Shallow leagues, maybe not, but yeah, I would put him ahead of Aaron Ashby at this point, given that Ashby kind of had a stinker here on Sunday.
All right. Well, back to Lodolo.
Yes.
Do we have I feel like we have innings concerns for him as well.
Yes. I will check what I put in the article and hope that it's right in this case. But yeah, he's exceeded last year's innings total now too. Barely by like 1 inning. He threw only 50 2/3 last year. Obviously spent much of it injured, spent much of this year injured too. And like that's at a point where that innings total is so low that like just to put him in a position where you don't have to control his innings so tightly next year, you may want to push him a little harder, maybe push him to 100 innings. So he'll probably be okay, but a definite question. I mean, just durability in general, I think, is a major question for Lodolo. But yeah, back-to-back starts, really good. 6 innings in each of them, 9 against the Marlins in the previous outing. It's 7. Actually, more swinging strikes, though, in this one against the Orioles. Now, I said Marlins and Orioles for those 2 matchups for Lodolo, so obviously favorable. He was a highly recommended 2-star pitcher coming into this week, and it paid off nicely. But it's clear the guy has talent and pretty good stuff. And, I'm interested in seeing how his next start goes. Who's that against?
At the Brewers.
At the Brewers.
They
So
have,
yeah, that'll be a good test.
yeah, they've been better offensively over the past couple of weeks, but in general on the season, the Brewers are 25th in weighted on base average against left-handed pitching. So could prove to be a decent matchup here for Nick Lodolo. Tough place to pitch, obviously, in Milwaukee. Scott, let's put a bow on this now. You mentioned Detmers now ahead of Ashby. Detmers, Ashby, Singer, Lodolo. Is that the ranking for those four?
I might put Lodolo ahead of Singer. Those two are very close, though.
All right. Fair enough. I mean, I think a little bit more experience, better ballpark to pitch in Kansas City, both not great teams. It is close. You're right. I might lean with Singer just a bit, but I do like both quite a bit. So depending on who's available in your league. A couple other waiver wire pitchers from the weekend. Johnny Cueto. Good old Johnny Cueto, man. Rubber arm. He is just throwing pitches and throwing innings, and he's getting out there. He has 11 quality starts in 13 total starts this season. That is just bananas. I think in any categories league with quality starts, Johnny Cueto probably should be rostered. 7 innings, 2 runs. He only had 2 strikeouts. Pretty much expected at this point. He's 66% rostered. He's at the Rangers this week. Jose Quintana, back-to-back scoreless outings. He was up against the Phillies this weekend. 5 2/3 shutout. 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. He's got a 3.50 ERA, 1.27 whip for the season. Don't know if his next start will come with the Pirates. Sounds like they're shopping him, but we'll see what happens there. Jake Odorizzi had one of his best starts of the season against the Mariners. He went 7 shutout with 8 strikeouts. Not really used to seeing that. He is 37% rostered. And then James Caprillion has now had a very strong July. At the White Sox on Friday, 6 innings, 1 run, 4 strikeouts. In 5 July starts, a 1.93 ERA, 17 strikeouts to 10 walks. Not a great ratio there. Over 28 innings pitched. Scott, these 4, Johnny Cueto, Jose Quintana, Jake Odorizzi, James Caprillion. What do you think?
Well, I don't think a whole lot. At some point, I guess we maybe need to start giving Johnny Cueto credit for only once in 14 appearances has he given up more than 3 earned runs. So he's been very consistent for a very long time. 431 xFIP compared to that 286 ERA. It's not clear, other than limiting runs, which I guess is the most important thing, but it's not clear how he's limiting the runs. And so that makes me very skeptical still. And treating him as nothing more than a matchups type. Obviously, this latest was against Oakland. I want to say I'm interested in Jake Odorizzi too, because every now and then he puts together a start like this. He gets a lot of swings and misses with his fastball, which is normally a very good quality. But in 5 starts since returning from the IL, he's had 2 starts much like this one, and then 3 awful ones, and it's just not enough consistency there. And at some point, you got to figure the Astros are going to whittle their rotation down to 6, from 6 to 5.
And they have Lance McCullers coming soon. So,
well, that's true. And I've even heard that maybe they're shopping Odorizzi, which would probably be for the best for Odorizzi, but wouldn't be with the Astros anymore. So, yeah, I mean, somebody to keep an eye on there is Odorizzi, but I think I think he's still not that useful now, except as a matchups type.
All right. So I was thinking, you were talking about Cueto, and I was just thinking, like, it feels like there's more just crafty veterans this year that are performing well. I don't know if there's anything to it, any rhyme or reason. It could be the environment that we're dealing with this season that, kind of been shaded a little bit back towards pitching. But between guys like Cueto and even Wainwright's having another solid season, Miles Michaelis, Martin Perez, it's these pitchers that pitch to contact. It seems like they're having more success this year. I'd have to compare it to like previous years and other things, but it just feels that way.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. The guys like Merrill Kelly and Martin Perez.
Right.
And just, you wouldn't expect that profile to be successful in recent years. And maybe with the way the environment's changed, it's allowed some of those guys to excel. in ways that I still don't know that I trust on a year-to-year basis. But we may see them pop up and be able to sustain it over the course of a season anyway.
All right, in deeper leagues, anything with these three. Andre Palante had his best start of his career. He was at the Nationals on Sunday, 8 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts in this one. He's 13% rostered. Bailey Falter was at the Pirates. He went 6 innings, 2 runs allowed, 8 strikeouts in that one. And then Kyle Bradish made his return to the mound on Friday against the Reds. 5 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts to 0 walks. His overall ERA is up around 7, but his underlying numbers, 3.85 xFIP, a Sierra that's below 4, 11% swinging strike rate. There's a little something there. Scott, what do you think about these 3 names? Obviously, very deep leagues: Palante, Falter, Bradish.
So, I mean, obviously, this is a very impressive start for Andre Palante, and he has an elite ground ball rate. Like, there's Framber Valdez, and then there's pitchers like Andre Palante, where it's over 60% of the time, and that gives him a 368 xFIP, which is not bad considering not a big bat misser normally. Not somebody who you'd think has a lot of upside, and of course his ERA is even better than that, right? It's low 3s. So I don't know. Maybe he could be like a poor man's Ranger Suarez, who's picked it up himself recently. That's just that skill of being able to put on the ball on the ground that consistently is a valuable one, and it can make up for a lack of missed bats. Now, I'm kind of curious about Bailey Falter because his numbers in the minors have been so good. I'll see if I can pull him up here. Let's see. He pitched on Friday, right? Bailey Falter in the minors this year. I thought I'd written them down. His numbers are really good in the minors.
I have 7 starts in the minors for Falter this season. 1.56 ERA, 0.63 WHIP, 38 strikeouts over 34 and 2/3.
Yeah, I mean, those are some very impressive numbers. But has had very little success in the majors. The chance he's gotten, this start against the Pirates, obviously was against the Pirates, and it it stood out as, okay, maybe we could see more of this from him. But we need to actually see it, I think, before he becomes a real asset in fantasy. Plus, I don't think he's kind of been in and out of the rotation all year. I don't think he's necessarily a fixture for the Phillies.
Yep, fair enough. I will say in deeper leagues for Falter this week, he's going up against the Nationals, and they are quite bad against all pitching, but specifically against lefties. They are 24th in weighted on base average. The drop-o-meter, Scott, we got a lot of questions about Lance Lynn on Friday, and rightfully so. He has now made 9 starts this season. He has just 2 quality starts, and it's the Oakland A's. 5 2/3 innings, 5 runs allowed, 4 of those were earned. Did have 8 strikeouts to 0 walks, so great strikeout to walk ratio, but he gave up 3 home runs to the lowly Oakland A's. His ERA now stands at 6.42. He's still 90% rostered. Scott, where are you at? The drop-o-meter on Lance Lynn.
I think he's still worth rostering. I know he gave up 3 home runs in this one, but otherwise, if you can ignore the home runs, if you can ignore the 3 home runs he gave up, he looked pretty good. Struck out 8, 16 whiffs, all of that. Yeah, I think he's due to bounce back in a big way. So I would put his drop ability, like at a 2 on the drop-o-meter, maybe a 3.
Would you drop him for any of the 4 we mentioned earlier? Detmers, Ashby, Singer, Lodolo?
I mean, you probably have to drop him for Detmers at this point if that's really the only player you have to drop for him. I would hope you'd have somebody you could drop instead.
Mm-hmm. Lance Lynn is facing the Royals this week too, so obviously that's a pretty good matchup there. It kind of just seems like he's on the bad side of variance right now. I mean, you look at his career numbers, and he's really outperformed his underlying numbers usually. His ERA is 6.42. His xFIP is 3.66.
Yeah.
So,
Lance Lynn actually has a better xFIP this year than he did last year. And
right.
His swinging strike rate is about the same. So I know there's been some talk his velocity's down a little.
Yep.
And, maybe that's making some difference, but it's not showing up in the places we'd expect it to show up.
All right, let's move over to Joe Ryan. Could have been our, oh my goodness gracious, player from the weekend because he got destroyed on Friday. 4 2/3 innings, 8 hits, 10 runs allowed, including 5 home runs. His previous 4 starts before this, a 2.05 ERA, 0.86 whip. Scott, I continue to be confused when it comes to Joe Ryan. He's supposed to have this deceptive fastball. He throws it a lot. He gives up a lot of fly balls. Usually has immaculate control. Hasn't nearly been the case this season. What do you think about Joe Ryan, the drop-o-meter?
Well, I mean, there have been a lot more good starts than bad starts, even after. Let's see. So his ERA with this truly awful start, 10 earned runs in 4 2/3 innings. It brought his ERA up into the 370 range, I believe, which tells you it was going well before that. His, let's see, some of the numbers have changed since I wrote them down. His xERA is 3.55 now, so actually better than the actual ERA. Of course, because of all the fly balls he gives up, the xFIP is very high. But the quality of contact is good. The walk rate is still good. It isn't impeccable like we saw it for much of the minors, like we saw it in the little bit we saw of him last year. He's a weird pitcher, for sure. It's a weird profile. It's always been a weird profile because the fastball, like the success for not having a very diverse arsenal, for not having an overpowering fastball, you wonder how he does it. And I guess sometimes there's going to be starts like this where it just doesn't work for him against a major league lineup. But, I don't know that I'd be dissuaded from starting him next week. His matchup, if I remember, is a very good one against the
Tigers.
Yes, the worst offense in baseball. So I don't know that I'd let this start keep me from using him.
I agree. Just figured I would ask following this horrible start, as we mentioned multiple times. Against the Tigers, yeah, I'm fine starting Joe Ryan in that spot. The last one here is Nick Pivetta. He gave up 4 runs over 5 innings pitched, including 11 base runners in this start. 5 July starts for Nick Pivetta, 9.38 ERA, a 2.13 whip, tons of walks, home runs are up, still 81% rostered. Scott, did we finally find the one that we could drop?
Nick Pivetta? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'm way beyond Nick Pivetta at this point.
You're good dropping him for all 4 of the pitchers we mentioned?
Mm-hmm. I'm good dropping him for just about anyone.
I agree. Let's move over to some hitters. Finally, unfortunately, Julio Rodriguez to the IL this weekend after getting hit by a pitch on his wrist. X-rays came back negative. He will not swing a bat for 4 to 5 days, but a minimum length stay on the IL remains possible. How possible? I'm not so sure. If you need replacements on Scott's sleeper hitters list, Hunter Renfroe is available in some shallow leagues. He's 78% rostered. Another big game on Sunday. He went 4 for 4, hit his 19th home run. Leody Taveras, also on Scott's sleeper list, 65% rostered. Now, those who play in 10-team leagues, maybe some shallower points leagues, those 2 names could be available. Some other outfielders from the weekend. Scott, how would you rank this group? Steven Kwan had 5 hits, including another steal. He's 61% rostered, has 7 home games this week. Maybe the person who will be filling in for Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic, he got called back up, 39% rostered. And in the month of July, down in the minors, he hit 277, 3 homers, 8 doubles, a 905 OPS, just a 16% strikeout rate. And then Randall Grichuk had 3 straight multi-hit games over the weekend. And I do know you like the Rockies matchups this week, 8 road games for them. How do you rank these 3? Kwan, Jared Kelenic, Randall Grichuk.
Well, if it's a points league, Kwan's the easy call. But in a categories league, just doesn't provide you enough power or speed, I think, to be so worthwhile. And points leagues, obviously, the lack of strikeouts makes him plenty usable in that format. So, I'd probably take a shot on Kelnick if you needed to replace Rodriguez's stats in a categories league, and he theoretically offers a power speed profile. Not as many stolen bases as Julio Rodriguez, but he could theoretically make contributions across the board, and hopefully he's figured out some of his issues in the minors after having a nice multiple month run, chance to settle in there and maybe overcome some of his issues. I don't know that I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have gotten the call if Julio Rodriguez hadn't gotten hurt, because they're, Mitch Haniger's about to come off the IL. And you know what? As I say that, I wonder if he gets sent down when Mitch Haniger comes off the IL. I believe that's supposed to happen Friday.
Some people were asking me that on Sunday when I mentioned picking up Kelnick in 5 outfielder leagues. But yeah, you're right. Mitch Haniger not expected back until Friday. They have some other injuries they're dealing with. I know, what's his name? Haggerty. I think that's his name. Sam
Haggerty.
Yeah. He's dealing with an injury as well. Ty France is a little banged up. He's dealing with either a wrist or forearm injury. So yeah, I mean, they're beat up. They need some bats. So I think if Kelnick performs well throughout the week, he'll probably stick around. But as soon as I say that, his return on Sunday, he went 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts. So it's just more of the same.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Grichuk in there, and I don't think there's much to see there. Yes, the Rockies have 8 games, and the pitchers they're facing are pretty weak, but they're also all on the road. So generally, we don't love Rockies hitters on the road, especially fringy ones like that.
Right. All right. In deeper leagues, maybe the deepest leagues, James Outman made a huge debut for the Dodgers on Sunday. He went 3 for 4 with a home run and 3 RBI. In the minors this season, 279 batting average, 21 homers, 11 steals, a 915 OPS between AA and AAA. His teammate, Trace Thompson with the Dodgers, has played well recently. He went 2 for 5 on Friday with a home run. And in 37 games, he's hitting 260, 4 homers, 19 RBI. Aledmus Diaz, you could play him all over. He has every eligibility besides catcher, but obviously for this exercise, if you need an outfielder in a deeper league, Aledmus Diaz, back-to-back 3-hit games on Friday and Saturday, including 3 home runs during that span. And Seth Brown also hit 3 homers this weekend. The problem, the Oakland A's only play 5 games this upcoming week. Scott, what do you think about this list in deeper leagues? 15-teamers, anything deeper than that? James Outman, Trace Thompson, Aledmus Diaz, Seth Brown.
It's a nice moment for James Outman. Did you see the celebration? His first major league at bat, home run, family and friends jumping up and down. Really exciting to see. I mean, I can't imagine me ever giving anybody in my life a reason to celebrate me like that, So it's really, I don't want to undermine the moment, but I don't think Outman is going to be a thing in fantasy. He did hit well in the minors, 279, 21 home runs, 915 OPS, but also a 28.5% K rate against the minor league pitchers, very high. And he's a left-handed hitter on the Dodgers. How consistent is the playing time going to be? So that's my take on James Outman. Yeah, I think you're talking about some pretty deep league options here. Seth Brown doesn't contribute much other than that power, and he doesn't get the most consistent playing time either. I mean, none of these guys play that consistently, and I just don't think there's much upside to be found here either.
There, other waiver wire hitters, not outfielders. Scott, do we think Alec Bohm is a must-add at this point? I feel like we've mentioned him so much recently and just had another massive game on Sunday. He went 4 for 5, 7th home run of the season, 3 runs scored, and wraps up his July with a 434 batting average, 3 homers, 4 doubles, 14 RBI, a 1089 OPS, 58% rostered. Is a little premature to call him a must-add.
Well, what didn't he do in July? He didn't hit many home runs. He hit 3, right? 3?
Yeah, 3 homers, 4 doubles.
Uh-huh. He still has the issue of, the launch angle was actually pretty good for the month of July. exclusively, and yet he still didn't end up like he was hitting the ball hard, obviously hitting for high average, elevating the ball pretty well, and still not putting it over the fence. And I just don't think, unless you're Luis Arias, you're not gonna succeed as a corner infielder without putting the ball over the fence. That's just not going to work. So Bohm's going to cool off from here. He's not going to hit over 400 every month. I'm not saying you can't use him as a hot hand play. That's fine, but I don't think he's a trusted fantasy asset now.
All right, fair enough. William Contreras, we talk a lot about catchers and who's hot and who's not, and Contreras has played well all season, Scott. The problem is the playing time has really kind of dissipated over the past month or so. He went 3 for 4, had a double dong on Saturday. He's 59% rostered, but I don't know. I don't know how to handle William Contreras right now. What do you think? I would say he's available in one catcher leagues, but does it even matter?
It matters. I mean, that's just such a weak position. I'd say he's pretty fringy in one catcher leagues. And, it didn't help that he had gone very cold prior to this weekend. If you're going to play as inconsistently as William Contreras does, you need to do better than a 185 batting average over a 20-game span, which is where he was before that 3 for 4 2-homer performance Saturday. So that's part of it. I would say top 15 catcher still. And that would make him usable sometimes in one catcher league, sure, but more of a 2 catcher league guy.
Free William Contreras. I don't know what that would mean, where he would have to get traded, or
no, that's not going to happen. I think he's the heir apparent for Travis d'Arnaud, and maybe he'll just get a higher percentage of the at bats next year. We'll see.
We shall see. Is d'Arnaud a free agent after this year, Scott?
Nope. He is signed through 23 with a team option for 24.
All right. Well, wanted to kind of get myself,
but he's not young. I mean, he's going to be a 34-year-old catcher next year,
and he's been injury prone, but he's still performing pretty well. So, all right. Unfortunately, I'm trying to make a case for William Contreras, but alas,
I think there's a good chance William Contreras gets more at bats than d'Arnaud next year.
Let's hope so. If you need saves, Scott, there was a few names that emerged here, especially in the deeper leagues where I was putting claims in Sunday night. Taylor Rogers out as the Padres closer. Bob Melvin called this, quote, a little bit of a break for Taylor Rogers. Now, if Luis Garcia steps in and just performs admirably over the next couple of weeks, I don't think that he will necessarily relinquish that closer title once again, but yeah, look, Garcia tossed a 1-2-3 ninth inning on Sunday for his first save, and he's pitched really well all season. But there were a few other names that I looked at over the weekend. Pete Fairbanks picked up a save for the Rays. He had a save earlier in the week. It did come in extra innings, so it's not like it was a traditional save or anything. The Rays are annoying, but it's like nobody has really stepped up to kind of take that closer role. Maybe it's Fairbanks. And then for the Rangers, Brett Martin, he gave up like 3 more runs on Saturday night. He's looked awful recently. Jonathan Hernandez picked up the save on Sunday. He was also warming up Saturday, and he was getting ready to pitch the 9th if they did have the lead. So how are you prioritizing those 3, Scott, if you needed saves? Luis Garcia, Pete Fairbanks, Jonathan Hernandez.
I think Jonathan Hernandez is well ahead of the others. He was kind of trending toward being the Rangers closer before having Tommy John surgery. Whatever year that was that just last year, early last year? I guess so. And he's come back throwing just as hard. So I think Jonathan Hernandez could take this opportunity and run with it. As I understand it, the Padres are going to go by committee. Luis Garcia got the first chance, and maybe he'll get the majority of it while they're going by committee. But yeah, I mean, Bob Melvin said all the things a manager normally says when a closer who he otherwise believes in is struggling. And we have plenty of reason to think Taylor Rogers is going to bounce back. I wouldn't be so quick to drop him or anything. So I'd still rather, he's still the Padres reliever who I think needs to be rostered the most, clearly. And as for Pete Fairbanks, I mean, I don't know. Jason Adam, Brooks Raley, Colin Posh.
Poche.
Poche, is that how you say it?
But I kind of like the way Colin Posh sounds more.
Yeah. Any of them could get a save on any given day. I just don't think Fairbanks, it's kind of a wild goose chase anytime you go after a Rays reliever.
All right. Were you speculating on any other relievers, Scott, in some of those deeper leagues? Maybe ahead of the trade deadline, some Cubs or Marlins relievers, something like that.
Yes. So I picked up in a couple leagues Joe Mantiply, who was the Diamondbacks All-Star representative this year. It's kind of similar to Melancon, like the optimal version of Melancon, where really doesn't get as many strikeouts as you'd expect an all-star caliber reliever to get, but hardly walks anybody, and has just been the most consistent Diamondbacks reliever, I think, by far. I don't know that Melancon's going to be a big enough draw at the trade deadline to actually be traded, but if he is, I would expect Joe Mantiply to. Well, expects a little strong, but I could see Joe Mantiply entering the role as kind of an early audition for next year.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to speculate on the Cubs guys. It's kind of tough because if they trade Robertson, I think it would be Michael Givens. They could trade both Robertson and Michael Givens. And if that was the case, it probably would be Scott Effross. He's pitched well this year also. So those are a few names. I had those behind the other three that I mentioned earlier, though. So we'll see what happens with the Cubs.
Yep.
All right, let's take a break, and we will return right after this. The news and notes. As expected, Jacob deGrom will officially make his debut on Tuesday against the Nationals. Obviously, make sure to get him back in your lineups. Alek Manoah exited Friday's start with a right elbow contusion after being struck by a comebacker. X-rays were negative, and he's in line to make his next start Thursday against the Twins. Trevor Story has been diagnosed with a hairline fracture in his wrist. He was initially diagnosed with a bruised right hand when he went on the IL July 16th. Scott, let's say you don't have any IL spots. Do you think Trevor Story is someone that you could drop?
It'd have to be a pretty shallow league because I don't think this is. I know it's a fracture, but they're not talking about a long-term absence since it's a hairline fracture.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, hopefully you have an IL spot, but if you don't, have to be a pretty shallow league to let him go.
All right. Remember Ozzie Albies? He was seen without the walking boot on Friday and is feeling really good. It was reported a couple of weeks ago that he could return in mid to late August. Would be a nice little boost there to the second base position. Joe Musgrove agreed to a 5-year, $100 million contract extension with the Padres on Friday. Good news. Get your money, Joe Musgrove. Giancarlo Stanton has yet to resume baseball activities. I saw a report. He could kind of start some stuff up middle part of this upcoming week. He's been on the IL since July 26th with Achilles tendonitis. Daniel Bard will not be traded and instead signed a 2-year, $19 million contract extension with the Rockies. This one sucks, and it looks like it might never go away, Scott. Alex Kirilloff left Saturday's game with right wrist soreness, the same wrist that has been bothering him since last year, maybe even dating back to the minors. I know he's been dealing with this for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, since his minor league career, since before he ever debuted in the majors, he struggled in the 2019 minor league season, I want to say, with it. So it's been, and he's had surgery at this point. He ended last season early to have surgery on the wrist and seemed like he'd maybe overcome it at AAA this year. Obviously put up huge numbers there, which created a lot of optimism. 359 with 10 homers and 1106 OPS in 35 games. But even then, he was talking about how he had, figured out how to recapture his old swing in spite of the pain. And yeah, I mean, I guess the pain, like obviously his production and how hard he's impacted the ball has gone down in recent weeks. And it just seems like the pain's affecting his swing again. And I don't know. I'm starting to get pretty worried about what it means for his career prospects. If he can't get past this wrist injury, I don't know if there's another surgery he could have to maybe address it again. You would think, if it was still going to be like this, you wouldn't have signed up for the first surgery, right? Like, it was supposed to fix the issue. And I hope it's not the sort of thing that is always there for him. I hope he can find some kind of solution. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know how much of a fantasy asset he should be right now.
Yeah, I dropped him even in some 15-team leagues on Sunday night. It's just I need bodies that are playing right now, and I just don't know when he's going to be back or when he'll be healthy. Luis Severino will start a throwing program on Monday. He's been shut down for 2 weeks with a lat injury. Not sure what to make of this, but Mariners president of basketball operations, Jerry Dipoto, noted Friday that he and manager Scott Service would sit down and work on creative ways to make sure George Kirby, quote, stays on a regular turn and continues to contribute. Notice they said contribute, not necessarily start. So he did start on Sunday. He went 4 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts.
Yeah.
But
was pitching well, and they pulled him after 4 innings, so that might be a sneak peek at what they're going to do with Kirby. It is interesting that the Mariners have a president of basketball operations.
I said basketball.
You did.
I wrote down baseball, but apparently I guess I have basketball in my mind. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, Kirby's innings are going to be an issue down the stretch too. Maybe this is one way of managing them, but it's interesting that they use, okay, so we're going to get creative about how we use them, but we still want them to take a regular turn. So what does that mean for the rest of the Mariners rotate? Like, is this going to be a true 6-man rotation with Kirby going 4 or 3 innings at a time? Maybe. In any case, Kirby's probably somebody you could drop for Reid Detmers.
That was my next question. All right, Scott. There you go. Professional. Didn't even need to ask it. Speaking of the Mariners, Mitch Haniger could return on Friday. We mentioned that earlier. He's missed the past 3 months with a severe ankle sprain. Lance McCullers will make another rehab start Tuesday at AAA. He threw 52 pitches over 3 innings during his previous outing, 75% rostered for those in shallower leagues. After dealing with a personal issue, Julio Rodriguez reported to the Tigers' extended spring training facility and is expected to return around the middle of August. Chris Taylor will begin a rehab assignment on Monday. He is on the IL with a fracture in his foot. Tyler McGill will likely work out of the bullpen once he is activated, so I don't think he has much redraft value for the rest of this season, unless someone gets hurt, which is obviously possible. David Peterson, yeah.
2 people would have to get hurt because of David Peterson.
That's right. David Peterson was optioned to AAA on Friday. We might have our answer when it comes to Nolan Jones playing against lefties, because he did not play against 2 lefties this weekend. So I don't know. Brian Hayes was scratched Sunday due to left knee discomfort. Matt Manning is rejoining the Tigers and will start Tuesday against the Twins. They do play 7 games, so I believe he will be a 2-star pitcher, but Scott, not even I am brave enough to play Matt Manning in his return. Do you have any interest in deeper leagues?
No. I Matt Manning is somebody, I don't even have much interest in dynasty leagues. Like, he has shown nothing in the majors so far. And really, his last year in the minors was like that too. Prior to his call up, I guess. Was it last year that he got called up? I think so.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it wasn't going for him in the minors either.
Players who went to the IL this weekend: Trevor Rogers with lower back spasms, aka he just is pitching terribly right now. Max Kepler with a fractured pinky toe, Miguel Sano with left knee inflammation, Jock Peterson to the 7-day concussion IL. All right, Scott, we've got a lot of banged up players. Do we leave these guys in our lineup? Freddie Peralta, not necessarily banged up, but he is making his return on Tuesday at the Pirates. That is their first game, 6 games this week. So I think Peralta will make 2 starts, Pirates and Reds.
Yeah, sure seemed like it. And so I would suggest starting him if that's the case. I'd like to see him get his feet under him first, but you can't pass up the 2-start opportunity.
Especially with those matchups too, right? Pirates and Reds. Like that. Bobby Witt Jr. left on Sunday after getting hit by a pitch on his hand, not believed to be serious. Obviously, we could use more information, but what do you think, Scott? Any early takeaways for Bobby Witt?
Unless we hear more, I'd lean towards starting him. Doesn't sound serious, as you said.
All right. Tim Anderson was suspended 3 games for making contact with an umpire on Friday. He is appealing the decision, but could miss a couple of games this week. What do you think about Tim Anderson?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know when the appeal is going to be heard, so I think you have to keep starting him for now.
Corey Seager has missed 3 straight with a leg contusion. Could land on the IL. What do you think?
I would avoid him right now since there's talk of the IL for Seager.
Mm-hmm.
Are you totally sure Freddie Peralta is starting on Tuesday? I'm trying to find confirmation for this.
I'm pretty sure that it was a news item on our website.
Okay.
But outside of that,
because let me see what MLB.com has, because they're usually the most reliable with probable pitchers. They leave a lot of TBAs, so when they put one there, you can pretty much, when they put an actual name there, you can pretty much bank on it. So let me check on that.
The CBS news item has Freddie Peralta will return from his rehab assignment and join the Brewers during the upcoming series in Pittsburgh, which begins on Tuesday. So maybe that doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be back on Tuesday. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that phrasing makes me think he's not actually going to return on Tuesday itself, which would not, like, he'd have to come back Tuesday to be a 2-star pitcher right away. So
right.
In 12 teams or fewer, leagues of that size, maybe go ahead and give Freddie Peralta a start to get his legs under him, to make sure he's, truly fit as a fiddle and ready to be a reliable pitcher for you. Yeah, MLB.com has Corbin Burns going Tuesday. So,
all right. A couple other names here. Chris Bryant left Sunday with left foot soreness. He's playing through plantar fasciitis. Scott, what do you think? Start or sit this week?
I am going to say Chris Bryant. Yeah, I probably start unless you happen to have a great third base alternative. I think this plantar fasciitis is something he's going to be managing from this point forward.
All right. A couple other trades this weekend. Nothing major yet. Obviously, Luis Castillo, Chris and I did an emergency podcast. If anything else big happens, Montas, Juan Soto, obviously, Wilson Contreras, we'll fire back up. But the biggest trade was probably David Peralta, who was moved over to the Tampa Bay Rays. He's 26% rostered. Scott, I don't know how much interest you have in David Peralta. I think the bigger takeaway here is I saw our buddy, the Welsh, speculate that we could see Corbin Carroll with the Diamondbacks in September. So,
yeah, I included him in my 5 on the Verge in the latest prospects report. That was even before the David Peralta trade. At one point, I think it was late June, Diamondbacks management said we wouldn't see Corbin Carroll before he got to AAA. So, he wasn't going to skip AAA to join the majors. Well, now he's at AAA, and he's, at least last I looked, he was still performing well. So they haven't commented that he couldn't be of this year, just that he wouldn't skip AAA. Now, it would be weird. I don't know if weird's the right word, but you don't see it as often these days, a prospect as high profile as him coming up and joining the roster in September. But I think the upside is so high for Corbin Carroll that you could justify stashing him in a 5 outfielder league just in case it does happen.
Especially for a team that's not really playing for anything, it's if the Diamondbacks were in the wild card race, maybe, they need to add to their offense and they call up Corbin Carroll as a result of that. But I don't know. I don't know how much incentive it is for them. Maybe they want to get, some at bats here for him this season, and then he can kind of take that into next year. It's depends however they're viewing this situation. But Corbin Carroll, 13 games at AAA so far. He's hitting 261, 3 homers, 6 steals, 987 OPS. He's been awesome all season in the minors. So yes,
his whole minor league career, it's about 120 games across, what is it, 4 years? Obviously 2020, there are no stats for that. And then he missed a lot of last year with an injury, but he's just breezed through the minors in spite of all that, those missed those missed reps and just like dominated at every level.
Yeah, really did. A couple of pitchers duels this weekend, and two names who could be out there in some shallower leagues. Marcus Stroman against Alex Cobb on Friday night. Stroman went 6 shutout, 8 hits, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts, and his velocity was up a little bit in this start. He's 62% rostered, and at the Cardinals this week, Alex Cobb, finally, some results. He was going up against the Cubs, 6 innings, 1 run, 11 strikeouts to just 1 walk. He's got an ERA over 4. His xFIP is 2.82. And he's got a 62% ground ball rate. So that is massive. He's 71% rostered up against the Dodgers this week. So don't really love that matchup. What do you think here, Scott? Stroman versus Cobb.
I like it both. They both are under rostered. I've pointed out before that Stroman had one really bad start before going on the IL. And if you take that out, then his ERA would be in the low 3s. It'd be basically right in line with his xFIP, which is very good. And Cobb, I don't have as much trust in Cobb as I do in Stroman, but I think the upside's higher. And I think he showed it in this start against the Cubs. That splitter misses a lot of bats and gets a lot of ground balls when it doesn't. And that's a great combination. So, yeah, I'm not saying I'd activate him against the Dodgers, Alex Cobb, but he needs to be rostered in more than 71% of leagues. Yeah, I'd say he needs to be rostered in more than that.
I saw somebody in the YouTube chat, even before we started, they asked Alex Cobb or Reid Detmers. What do you think there?
Detmers.
Right.
Detmers. I mean, if I could see a scenario where Cobb ends up being better than Detmers down the stretch, but like Detmers is the higher priority right now.
Sure. All right. On Saturday, we had another pitcher's duel. Ranger Suarez at Mitch Keller. Suarez went 6 shutout with 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. He had 15 swinging strikes. He has allowed 0 earned runs in 3 starts since returning from the IL. And then Mitch Keller went 6 innings, 1 run, 3 strikeouts to 3 walks, and 11 starts now since rejoining the Pirates rotation. 3.32 ERA, 3.68 xFIP, 51% ground ball rate. Not a bunch of whiffs, strikeouts there for Mitch Keller, but he is performing right now. 22% rostered at the Orioles this week. Scott, Ranger Suarez up against Mitch Keller.
I'd rather have Suarez. In 3 July starts, he's allowed 11 hits, no earned runs in 16 innings, 16 strikeouts to 2 walks. And the walks seem to be a big thing for him. Like when he's hitting his spots with that sinker, I mean, he's really difficult to beat. We saw it down the stretch last year. It's the reason I was so high on him coming in. Remember, he got off to a late start in spring training, and I think he's just needed a while to round into form. Now, I say this after telling everybody to drop him a couple weeks ago, and I'm basing it on a small sample, obviously, but his ground ball rate has gone up quite a bit in a short amount of time. It's nearing where it was last year at this point. And I think there's a good chance Suarez is a reliable option down the stretch. Keller's gotten better, but like if he's going to lean on the ground ball profile, especially with the Pirates, I don't know that he's going to be good enough to really be that useful.
All right. Ranger Suarez, by the way, SPARP eligible. So for those in points leagues, you might want to make him a priority if he's available. And he is up against the Nationals this week, which is a great matchup, which I mentioned earlier. One more pitcher's duel from Sunday this time. Neither is available in terms of waivers, but Merrill Kelly at Max Fried. Both were awesome. Merrill Kelly, 7 shutout innings with 8 strikeouts in this one, 15 swinging strikes. Had an awesome July. 6 starts, 1.31 ERA, 0.77 whip, 33 strikeouts over 41 and a third innings pitched. That is Merrill Kelly. And then Max Fried on the other side went 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts. And of course, his numbers for the season still look amazing. He's got 24 walks over, it's got to be like 20 starts now. So the control has just been amazing for Max Fried. Scott, what do you think here from Kelly and Fried?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Merrill Kelly earlier as one of those profiles that hasn't played in recent years. It hasn't been more than a fringe option in fantasy, and yet his numbers just keep getting better and better. His July was awesome, and now, I mean, FIP is the ERA estimator I tend to cite the most, but if you look at just regular FIP, if you look at xERA, which is more of a quality of contact measure, they're right in line with his ERA. They're low threes, so they're backing up what he's doing. Yeah, month of July, 131 ERA and 0.77 WHIP in 6 starts, all of them quality starts. You know, I think he's probably due for a bad outing, but I think at this point also Merrill Kelly is a rock solid part of your pitching staff.
All right, starters sit these two pitchers. Obviously went in opposite directions this weekend. Robbie Ray, he needs to get away from the Houston Astros. Back-to-back starts against them where he has given up 10 earned runs, 4 walks to 4 strikeouts over 5 2/3 innings pitched. Normally I would say, all right, look, he's a top 20 starting pitcher. You're starting him. He's at the Yankees this week, which is the best team against left-handed pitching. Scott, what do you think? Are you still rolling Robbie Ray out there?
Well, it's not a flat no. I think it depends what else you have. I could understand sitting him after a start this bad against an opponent that's tough. But I do think the Astros just have his number, which the Astros having your number when you're a pitcher, then it's got to make you a little suspicious. But anyway, in 9 starts against the Astros, Robbie Ray has a 6.86 ERA, a 1.84 WHIP. Those are his highest numbers against any team. So, you know, he had been on the right track, you know, incorporating that sinker a lot more, throwing more strikes and still getting a lot of strikeouts. I still trust him in the long run, but I could understand sitting him with this matchup.
For what it's worth, Robbie Ray, obviously pitching with the Blue Jays last year. And look, it's different one year to the next, but 3 starts against the Yankees last year, 6.60 ERA. So not sure that I love that one. Ian Anderson. Yeah, you know, Scott, he must have been listening because he bounced back with one of the best starts of the season.
Yeah.
Even one of his best of his career. He was awesome against the Diamondbacks. 6 shutout innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 16 swinging strikes on 97 pitches. Got whiffs on all 3 of his pitches in this start. I didn't really see anything differently in terms of the pitch mix or velocity. He just threw his pitches for strikes, which he often struggles with. So the overall number is still very bad for Ian Anderson. He's at the Mets this week. I don't think I would start him, but obviously this is a very encouraging start.
It is. And like right after I was coming down really hard on him and like, why is he so rostered? They're going to replace him with Kyle Muller. And yeah, he said he credited just throwing with more conviction. He also threw his curveball more. That third pitch, the spin was way up on it, by the way, which probably goes into throwing with more conviction. So it sounded like maybe he was nibbling less, maybe he was airing it out a little more, and the results were good. And one thing I have said about Ian Anderson every time we talked to him this year is like he should be better than he is. And hopefully this is the start of a turnaround. But I agree, not ready to trust him against the Mets.
All right, some leftovers from the weekend. We'll quickly run through some hitters, some standouts in the outfield. Aaron Judge, this is getting pretty crazy now. 3 more homers this weekend, including a double dong on Friday. He now is up to 42 home runs by the end of July, which is the most by any Yankees hitter ever through July, which obviously, I mean, the history of the Yankees, it's pretty crazy what Aaron Judge is doing right now. Byron Buxton went 2 for 3 with a sock and a shoe on Saturday. His 26th home run, his 3rd steal of the season. Would be nice if we could get some more steals out of Buxton. Jerkson Profar had a sock and a shoe on Sunday. His 11th home run, his 5th steal. Anthony Santander had a big weekend himself. 7 hits, including 2 more homers. He's now up to 18 home runs for the season, and he had a very big July. 316 batting average, 5 homers, 7 doubles, 17 RBI. For Anthony Santander. In the infield, Anthony Rizzo hit 2 more homers this weekend. He's now up to 25, his most since 2019, and he could push for his career high, which is 32 home runs for Anthony Rizzo. Matt Chapman hit 2 more homers. He's now up to 20. Austin Riley, a monster game on Friday, 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, 29th home run. He's now batting .301 for the season, and I think he's working his way into MVP discussion, Scott, which is like, shout out to Austin Riley. He's been amazing.
Well, and he was, in terms of WAR, he was the Braves' best player last year too. He was probably should have gotten. Well, he did get some MVP consideration, and 2 years in a row of that. I mean, He looks like a legit stud in this league.
Francisco Lindor had back-to-back 3-hit games, including a home run on Saturday. He wraps up a big July himself, 320 batting average, 5 homers, 2 steals, a 14 RBI, 933 OPS. Salvador Perez returned this weekend. He had 2 big 3-run homers, one off of Garrett Cole, and then a go-ahead shot off of Clay Holmes on Sunday. It's good. Good to see Salvador Perez looks healthy. Jonathan India had a big weekend, 7 hits, including a home run on Saturday. And Marcus Semien had a big weekend himself, 5 hits, 1 homer, 2 steals. Since the start of June, how about this? Marcus Semien's hitting 277, 13 homers, 13 steals in 53 games. That is a crazy pace. So, yeah, after a slow start, Marcus Semien has really picked up.
I wonder how much of that is just the environment improving for hitters. Like he's right at the threshold where the ball carrying a little better makes a huge difference for somebody like him. I mean, we won't have we'll have a better idea of that next year, obviously, but it makes me wonder because Semien looks like exactly what you drafted him to be all of a sudden.
I mean, we see it a lot with hitters who sign big contracts, move over to new teams. Obviously, he's already played in the AL West, so he has some familiarity. But, maybe instead of it taking an entire season for some hitters, it took him a couple months to get going. That is Marcus Semien. Some other pitching standouts worth mentioning. Part 1, Justin Verlander makes it 6 straight quality starts, 7+ innings in 4 of those. He went 7 2/3, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. Shane Bieber back on track at the Rays, 7 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts, 20 swinging strikes. That was awesome. Brandon Woodruff now has 8+ strikeouts in 5 of 6 starts since returning from the IL. And Julio Rodriguez had a strong start at Coors Field, 7 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts for him. Scott, anything that stood out for Verlander, Bieber, Woodruff, Arias?
I would say no, not really. They were great. I mean, the fact that Bieber's velocity was up a little was nice to see. We've been waiting all year for that, but it still wasn't last year. It still wasn't what it was last year.
Yeah, both the fastball and curveball were up 1 mile per hour each in that start for Shane Bieber. Like to see it. Pitching standouts, part 2. Framber Valdez makes it 17 straight quality starts. He went 7 innings, 3 runs, 7 strikeouts against the Mariners. Joe Musgrove went 6 innings, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts against the Twins. Kyle Wright, 4 straight quality starts for him. He was up against the Diamondbacks, 6 2/3, 2 runs, 5 strikeouts. And Carlos Carrasco, he is back on track. 3 straight scoreless outings for him. He was at the Marlins, 7 2/3 shutout, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts for him. Anything with this group, Scott? Carrasco, Kyle Wright, Joe Musgrove, Framber Valdez.
Carrasco, as you said, appears to be back on track with 3 straight scoreless starts. His ERA has gone from 4.85 to 3.79 in July. He still has an xFIP lower than that, 3.52, and might be looking a little more reliable down the stretch. He's been a difficult pitcher to size up all year. By the way, like Kyle Wright, we've had our doubts about him at times too, but he's been so reliable all year. I believe his 12 wins, it might be tied for the major league lead. And you look at the ERA estimators, they're all right there with his ERA around 3. His ERA is a little lower than 3 actually, but yeah, I mean he looks like the real deal.
All right, I wanted to pull up the wins leaders real quick to see where he is at on the list. And
he's 13 wins, tied for the major league lead, it looks like.
I think Verlander, I'm seeing Verlander with 14. So
okay, sorry. Yeah. NL lead, my bad.
Yeah, NL lead. All right, yeah, Kyle Wright has been great. Pitching standouts, part 3. Blake Snell, strong start versus the Twins, 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 17 swinging strikes. Didn't really change much. Just threw his pitches for strikes. Theme there between him and Ian Anderson. Miles Mikolas picked up his 14th quality start at the Nationals. 7 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts in that one. Tyler Mahle, back-to-back quality starts since returning from the IL. Up against the Orioles, 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. And then Martin Perez just keeps rolling along at the Angels. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts for him. What do you think, Scott? Martin Perez, Malley, Michaelis, Snell.
Yes, I would say Perez is another one who, if we keep waiting for him to fall off, and he doesn't really. And we're late enough into the season now that I think he pretty much has my trust. I'm not going to be particularly high on him going into next year, but he's fine for right now. And Snell might be putting himself back in the circle of trust as well. We'll see. It's a little harder to trust him, but he clearly deserves to be. It's clearly must rostered again when I had my doubts about that earlier this year.
All right, so you just put Blake Snell kind of in the circle of trust, which means he's going to give up like 8
No,
runs.
he's not in the circle of trust, to be clear. I said he is, he's trying to make his way back into it.
All right. We're getting closer. Pitching standouts, part 4. I swear, this is the last group I have. Jose Barrios up against the Tigers. 7 innings, 1 run, 6 strikeouts. He had a strong July as well. He made 6 starts, 3.0 ERA, 1.17 whip for him. Aaron Nola, great start at the Pirates. 6 innings, 1 run, 8 strikeouts to 1 walk. He has 18 walks over 138 and 2/3 innings. That is Aaron Nola. Control has been amazing. Dylan Cease up against the A's. 6 innings, 1 run, 7 strikeouts there. And Carlos Rodon, just a ridiculous start. Sunday Night Baseball against the Cubs. 7 shutout, 2 hits, 0 walks, 10 strikeouts. Talks that, Rodon could be shopped right now for the Giants as well. So see if anything happens there. But Barrios, Nola, Cease, Rodon.
Yeah, so there in Tout Wars, there's this like roundtable discussion that's people who participate in Tout Wars are encouraged to submit to every week. And one of them, the one this week, was who do you have more faith in rest of season? Jose Barrios, Lucas Giolito, or Trevor Rogers? And I kind of felt like Jose Barrios doesn't deserve to be listed with those two anymore because he's looked like Jose Barrios again in July for the month. A 3 ERA, 117 whip, 10.5 K per 9 in his 6 July starts. And I know the season-long numbers are much worse, but I would say Jose Barrios is definitively back in the circle of trust.
Yes, for what it's worth, I responded to that tout table and I said Jose Barrios. It was just kind of like by default because Giolito, there's so much going on right now, and obviously Trevor Rogers on the IL. Shane McClanahan, human after all, his 13 straight quality starts ended on Sunday. He gave up 5 runs over 4 1/3. Just wanted to mention something to watch here. Obviously, we're talking about the innings a lot with him. His fastball velocity was down 1.6 miles per hour in this start, Scott. So I'm not worried, but it's on my radar. I'm paying attention.
Yeah, he's now an inning and a third short of last year's total. And, the Rays are going to have to manage his innings somehow down the stretch. I mean, especially if they have their eyes on the playoffs and him being a big contributor. I don't know how exactly they're going to do it. I'd be careful about trading McClanahan. I don't want to sell low on him, but I do think it's at least worth exploring.
All right. A couple of bullpen updates. We spoke about relievers earlier, but for the Cubs on Friday, they had a 1-run lead. Scott Effross in the 7th, Michael Givens in the 8th. David Robertson entered in the 9th. He had a 4-run lead at the time. He did give up 2 runs. It seems like that's kind of the pecking order right now. Effross, Givens, and then David Robertson. For Tampa Bay, I mentioned on Saturday, Pete Fairbanks picked up his 2nd save of the season. For the Astros on Saturday, Ryan Presley entered with a 1-run lead. He gave up 2 runs, took his 4th blown save and 3rd loss of the season. On the other side, Paul Sewald pitched a clean 9th for his 13th save for the Mariners. Nationals on Saturday, Kyle Finnegan recorded the final 5 outs for his 4th save. If you need saves, 25% rostered is Kyle Finnegan, so just widely available right now. We mentioned with the Rangers, Brett Martin got rocked on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Jonathan Hernandez picked up his 1st save. And for the Yankees on Sunday, Clay Holmes entered with a 1-run lead. He gave up a 3-run homer to Salvador Perez, and Holmes just looks a little bit more vulnerable recently, so we'll see.
He had another ugly outing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so his July, just basically on those 2 outings, his July ERA was like 7.
Yep.
So I'm not that concerned, but it's something to keep an eye on. By the way, you mentioned Seawald got a save Saturday, I believe. On Sunday, he was back to work in the 8th inning. So
Yeah.
it remains pretty messy for the Mariners.
All right. Well, that's been their MO the past couple of years for Seattle, unfortunately. To stream or not to stream on Monday, Domingo Germán versus the Mariners, Marco Gonzalez at the Yankees, Spencer Watkins at the Rangers, and Brad Keller at the White Sox.
Don't have a lot of faith in him, but I think Domingo Germán is the top choice there.
All right. On Tuesday, we have Graham Ashcraft at the Marlins, Braxton Garrett versus the Reds, Chris Archer versus the Tigers, Keegan Thompson at the Cardinals, Jordan Lyles at the Rangers, Spencer Howard versus the Orioles, Cutter Crawford at the Astros, and Brady Singer at the White Sox.
I like Singer, Braxton Garrett, and Graham Ashcraft in that order. I like all three more than Domingo Germán.
All right. We're going to wrap there. For Scott, I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.